What up, PokeNet? Thanks for coming and checking out this video. Today, we're going to be doing a deck profile of the Hydrapple EX deck. Man, this thing is so much fun. I mean, I loved Hydrapple even before rotation. I think it's so much fun to play. I love taking big KOs, and Hydrapple makes that happen. I mean, I think last night on stream, I hit for like over 1100 damage with this thing. You get all the energy in play, and then you just start swinging. And so it is so much fun. It's a deck that can certainly do well within the meta. Again, Dragapult is always the tough matchup, but last night I think we went 3-1 against Dragapult on stream, so it can win, and certainly is way funner to play, I think, than Dragapult. I love this deck, so let's go take a look. Let's see what we got going in the Hydrapple EX deck. So we're running 2 of the Hydrapple EX. Again, similar to the Mega Lopunny, is 330 is just such a hard HP to get to right now within the meta. So that's part of why Hydrapple can survive through attacks. He's so tanky, and he can heal himself with his ability. So Hydrapple has been really good and fun to play as well. So we got 2 of the Hydrapple EX. Okay, and then along with that, we're running 2 of the Festival Lead Dipplin. Again, its first attack, Do the Wave, is doing 20 for each of your bench Pokemon, so you can get some cheap KOs early in the game if we have Dipplin in play. So that's why we're running 2 of the Festival Leads Dipplin to go with it. And then we have 2 of the Applin from, I think this is Twilight Masquerade, right? So from Twilight. Again, I think this is probably the best one to run for sure. I also think it's pretty dang awesome, right? As he's sitting out there on the table, right? So 2 of the Applin to go with it there. Then for our draw support and energy acceleration, we have to run Teal Mask Ogerpon. So that's why we're running 4 of them. The more the merrier. Again, the more energy we have out in play, the better for Hydrapple. And then we also use these as our second attacker. So Teal Mask Ogerpon, 4 of those to go along with that Hydrapple line of the 2-2-2 Hydrapple, Dipplin, and Applin. Okay, then again, another key to make this better is 2 Meganium. So again, this is doubling all of our energy attachments. So that's why we need to be running multiple of these to help us get started. A lot of times people start like looking to take out Meganium, which isn't the worst thing in the world, right? We keep all our attackers on board. However, then we lose a lot of our power. So that's why it's good to have 2 and to get a second one in play. So we're running 2 Meganium, 2 of the Bayleef, and 2 of the Chikorita, right? So again, because we're going to be using the stadium, we need to, we need a full lineup, 2-2-2. There was a while where people were only running like 1. They were running like 1 Bayleef in the middle, but we know that it's more important to be able to have two Bayleef at this point. So, okay, and then another star of this deck is this Celebi, right? With its first attack, being able to grab 2 grass Pokemon and a stadium, you're able to get set up for your next turn and just start taking massive KOs, right? So this is a must-have, I think, in this deck. Your goal is to go second, get into Celebi, and get ready for your second turn to just start crushing. So so then we got 1 Celebi. Okay, another thing that's kind of a newer inclusion in this deck is one Tapu Bulu, right? And so if we've got Meganium in play for 2 Grass Energy, he's hitting 220. And so we're KOing a lot of EXs. And so this is big within in the meta right now. I think this Tapu Bulu is a big piece of this. The worst part is the fact that it has 3 retreat. So you start with this in the active to start the game. That's not great, right? That's not awesome. But I think that's pretty much the only thing with it that would be disappointing. And then to get us going, man, we got 2 Meowth, right? I love this card. This is one of Parker's favorite cards too. Favorite Pokemon. But Meowth EX just gets everything going faster. So again, that's why we have 2 Meowth EX. And then for the last Pokemon, we have 1 Fezandipiti, which I think is in almost every single deck, right? I mean, yeah, so 1 Fezandipiti to go with that for our draw power. So that's what we're looking at for our Pokemon. Man, again, this is so fun. I love playing this deck. So let's go take a look at what we got supporter-wise. So, you know, this is pretty dang common in a lot of different decks is we're running 4 of Lillie's Determination, right? This is the most powerful supporter right now, the best draw support there is in the game. So that's why we're running 4 Lillie's Determination. Then we have 2 get over here boss's orders, right? So we only have 2 of them, and there's been times I've maybe thought of having a third, but by the end of the game we're just KOing so big it doesn't really matter. But there has been a few times where people try to slow me down, and I feel like if I had a third boss, maybe I'd be in a better place. So that's something I've thought and contemplated. We're running 1 Dawn. There's another one I've thought of maybe going to 2. But realistically, if we have Grand Tree in play and we grab Dawn, we can get into a stage 2 Pokemon that easy, right? Just the stadium and a Dawn, and we're into Hydrapple, we're into Meganium. Part of why it's so strong within this deck. Okay, 1 Lana's Aid. I always call it Lana's Aid, but now it's up to you guys, I guess. But so with Lana's Aid, right, we're able to grab energy back out of the discard pile and a Pokemon if we need to. So again, I think it's great in here to be able to get some more energy. So one card I do like, but might put in for another boss or Dawn would be this Ciphermaniac's Codebreaking. Realistically though, if we have 2 Ogerpon on the bench, we can go into Ciphermaniac and put like grass first and whatever else you need second, right? And then we're still getting both cards. So Ciphermaniacs is still good, still works great within this deck. But at times I'm thinking, do I need to change it out for something else? And then we got 1 Briar. I mean, gosh dang it, this card has cost me multiple matchups against this deck on TCG, where you can come in with Briar and take a 3 prize KO with an Ogerpon pretty easy. I even had someone take a 4 prize KO with it on a Mega Kangaskhan. So that can certainly change the prize race. And so it's something to be aware of when we're playing against this deck, that Briar in there causes a lot of problems. So that's why I certainly like it being included in here. And so that does it for our supporters. Okay, then we have 4 Bug Catching Set, right? We're so lucky. Part of what makes grass decks way more consistent right now is having the Bug Catching Set. So having 4 of those is kind of a must. Then we're going into 4 Ultra Balls. Okay, again, we need to get into the Pokemon that we need. This is the best way to do it, to get into either of our any of our EX Pokemon. I find I use it for Meowth all the time, right? I need to get to a Meowth for the right supporter. And so Ultra Ball is pretty dang clutch. Then we have 1 Night Stretcher. Again, I've seen decks that have maybe 2. That's something you can kind of play around with if you need more than just 1. There are times I feel like I need to get more energy out of the discard pile, so that's something to be considerate about and think. And then we're only running 1 Poké Pad. Again, because we have all the Bug Catching Set, we don't need as many of these. And we're hopeful we can use Celebi, so we don't need the Poké Pad. We're almost using Celebi to get to what we need. So that's why there's only 1 of those included in here. All right, and then we talked about it. Then we have 4 Forest of Vitality. My gosh, this card is great. The fact that we can get into our stage 2 Pokemon right away after our first turn is unbelievable, right? So we're running 4 of those. And then our A spec is Unfair Stamp. Sorry, I got the Japanese one in this deck right now. But yeah, dude, Unfair Stamp, right? I mean, it's absolutely killing the meta right now. Once we get special red card, I wonder if that will change, if we'll put in a different A spec. So it'll be interesting to see once we get special red card, how does that change not just this deck, but all of our decks. And then my goodness, I can barely hold these all out when I'm trying to fan them out correctly. The rest is all grass. 14 grass energy, right? I mean, we got so much of these, but again, we need it for draw power. It helps our attacker, all of our attackers get stronger. So we need a lot of grass energy. So, so we're running 14 grass energy. I've seen it as low as like 12. I think that's going to kind of be up to you, but 14 seems pretty solid right now. When I was testing this out the other day, I was actually complaining more at times of not having energy than having too much, and that's the truth. So again, this deck is so much fun to play, and it plays the way I like playing, which is aggressive, playing fast, trying to be the one that's taking K.O.s early. So this deck is so much fun to play. A few things I think it needs to be great in the meta. So we can get a couple more grass cards coming up. We'll be great, right? But realistically, this deck is fun. It plays pretty dang fast, and I really enjoy it. So if you haven't, please go smash the like button, jump in the comments section, and let me know what you thought of the video. If you haven't subscribed, please go and do so. And then otherwise, as we always do, we sign off with, have a Poketastic day.